In France, proof of vaccination is now required across the country. President Macron launched the Health Pass at the start of summer as cases started rising again. And this was a move, you may recall, that led to weeks of these large-scale protests. But would this work in the U.S.? CNN's Melissa Bell is live for us in Paris with more. This is, is this a case study? That's the question, Melissa.
Well, Brianna, you guys have been talking this morning about that sense of frustration that you heard last night from Joe Biden. And that's something that we heard a couple of months ago from the French president as well. He, too, was coming up against that wall of vaccine hesitancy, and he knew that he needed to overcome it. So a far more aggressive strategy for trying to convince people to get vaccinated. And I think what it has shown, Brianna, is that whilst there may be a hardcore of people who will never get vaccinated, the vast majority of the hesitant can actually be convinced.
It was the push back in July that made all the difference.
We are extending the use of the Health Pass to push as many of you as possible to go and get vaccinated.
Within 24 hours, almost 1 million appointments had been booked. With the Health Pass, which shows whether you've been vaccinated or have had a PCR test within 72 hours, suddenly needed to enter restaurants, museums, cafes and bars, and now extended to employees of any business that serves the public.
They say you have the choice, but you don't really, or it's either you get vaccinated or you pay for your test. So is it really a choice?
Anaïs says she wasn't going to get vaccinated, like 60% of those polled during France's second lockdown in December. For a long time, the United States was ahead of France in terms of the proportion of the population that had received at least one dose. Then in July, Macron took a gamble. Just as vaccination centres were emptying as vaccine hesitancy kicked in and French hospitals were being overrun by the Delta variant.
He took the risk to say, I will make the life of the non-vaccinated very difficult, which is a very, very, very dangerous statement.
Protests followed. One of the biggest came on July 31st, just a couple of weeks after Macron made his speech. Across France, 204,000 people took to the streets, according to the Interior Ministry. But for all the noise, that very same day, more than double the number of people were quietly getting an injection. The reason, says this French lawmaker, that most people understood that the alternative was yet another lockdown. It was saying to the French, she says, that if you're vaccinated, you can live like you used to. This health pass will give you your freedom back. Now France has one of the best vaccination rates in the world, over 62%. And despite the spread of the Delta variant, hospital admissions have gone down.
The Delta variant goes faster, but enough people are vaccinated. It's sort of a balance between being more contagious and meeting more people who are immunized.
Macron's gamble depended on his being able to act at a national level with strong executive powers and a solid parliamentary majority, none of which Joe Biden has on his side. But the French model does show that with some encouragement, even the vaccine hesitant can be convinced that in the extraordinary circumstances of a pandemic, individual liberties must end where collective responsibility begins.
Brianna, Emmanuel Macron had at his disposal a bunch of tools, as you've just heard, that Joe Biden doesn't. But what it does show is that that little push can make all the difference, Brianna.
Yeah, as your first person in that story said, is it really a choice? Melissa Bell, thank you so much live for us in Paris.
Back with us now, Dr. Sanjay Gupta and Dr. Richard Besser. Rich, it's interesting because you alluded to this before, and I want you to talk about it more, about your own personal evolution here as someone, deep into the public health sector. You went from thinking and hoping that education on vaccines would do the trick. But now, now you think, there needs to be more, and you're seeing it in France. You think there needs to be more than just telling people and explaining to people why it's beneficial.
I do. And I don't think we should give up on trying to meet people where they are, understanding their concerns and addressing those. But it's clear that the declines that we were seeing at the end of June, the beginning of July, the hope that we were going to come into a fall and see very low levels that would allow us to get back to our lives, that hasn't happened. And it hasn't happened largely because of a new variant, the Delta variant, that is so widely transmissible. And to me, that's a game changer. It's saying to me, if we want to get back to our lives, if we want to get our economy going, if we want to keep children in school learning, which is where they should be, we need to increase the number of people who are vaccinated. And as a pediatrician, I've experienced this big time in terms of school vaccine mandates, where I have a lot of patients, a lot of parents who may have concerns about vaccine, but those concerns are not outweighed by their desire to have their kids in school learning. And I think that what we're seeing there in France, ensuring that people who are in society fully, are vaccinated, can have a big impact. And so when we were hearing the president yesterday calling on vaccine requirements for large gatherings, for arenas, for people coming together, in order to do that and do it effectively, you don't want someone with a flashlight looking at a vaccine card. You want to have something that's going to be easy, and something like that vaccine passport is a good approach to make it plausible for people to restrict entry of people who aren't vaccinated.
Yeah, I mean, I would take someone with a flashlight looking at vaccine cards because I don't see it ever. I mean, we had Michael Smerconish, Sanjay, on yesterday, and we were talking about how when we got our vaccine cards, you know, I didn't laminate mine, still haven't. I thought I should have, because I thought I'd be showing it places, and I've only had to show it a couple places. Once at my kid's school to get in, once here at work. And I just wonder if you think that should be more widespread, and if you should have to do that to get on, say, a plane or a train to travel.
Well, you know, first question, just about the idea of having some sort of national system like a passport of sorts. Yes, I think that's really important. I got my card here. It's kind of amazing to me that all this talk that we're having revolves around something that, looks like this. And, people don't always carry it with them. They're hardly ever asked to show it, as you point out. It's kind of remarkable. And, right away, the Biden administration basically said, we're not going to create a federal sort of database. We're not going to create a sort of passport. This is what they said, several months ago. There's still no sort of federal database or passport. And I think that's a problem. I think people have a hard time sort of navigating that whole system. I think that, I can't remember what was the second part of your question? Apologies.
For planes and trains,
because
right. You can just, I'll be honest, I was on a train yesterday for work, and I'm sitting there with, like 40 of my closest friends going, hello, who's who?
No, I know. It's very interesting. We've looked a lot at the aviation, just interstate travel as well, in terms of these mandates. And what we hear is basically there hasn't been real significant spread within airline travel. And that's true. I mean, I think because of the filtration, because of the mask requirements and all that, it does make a difference. But I think the flip side of it is that this is another carrot, potentially another tool to get people vaccinated. If you want to fly, you have to be vaccinated. They weren't ready to make that jump yet as part of this 6-point plan that was rolled out yesterday. But I think that would be another thing that would make a difference. Planes and trains, anything with interstate travel, if we're trying to just dramatically increase the number of people vaccinated as quickly as possible, that would be another important tool.
Dr. Sanjay Gupta, Dr. Richard Besser, great to have you on this morning. Thank you guys both so much.